Hey everyone, this is Ida of Created to Create. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to attempt 2, a process video for the cards that I created for my Anna Griffin typewriter, the Memoirs typewriter that was Anna Griffin themed. Can't talk this morning. I did try already once and it just didn't do it for me. I ran out of time and my phone cuts off. But Layla from Hawaii, I believe she's from Hawaii, wanted a process video. So I'm gonna try and do one really quick. We might not get all of it done, but at least the beginning on how to assemble your card, the decorating, that you could go with anything that you want. But I'm gonna attempt to create one. And for this one, I'm going to use a standard 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, and I'm going to split it down the middle, the long way. So I'm going to cut it at 4.25 inches because this is an 8.5 by 11. So down the middle, long ways, it's 4.25, and I will end up with two pieces, which are these two. Now we're going to find the halfway point of this paper. It measures 11 inches. So we're going to score that at, grab my scoreboard. We're going to score it at 5.5 inches. So I'm just going to put it on my scoreboard, put it right up against the corner, and I'm going to score it at 5.5 inches because I know that half of 11 is 5.5. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to list the products that I use in the description box below. Now, I'm not going to fold this right now. I'm going to fold it afterwards because I'm going to cut. I'm going to use, one of the things I'm using is the Memoirs tags. And a lot of the ladies, some of the ladies picked it up. I'm not sure if Layla did, but I still want to show her how to create this card. And I have, like I said, a lot of my pieces are already pre-cut. So I'm going to line up my card, my die, I'm sorry, to the bottom of the card. And I'm going to center it from side to side as well. Now with this, you can tape it down or you don't have to. It's totally up to you. And I'm going to try and be as straight as possible. And I'm going to tape it down with some washi tape. You do not have to. But I'm going to, just for the sake of this video, for those of you that need to, I put it on my Anna Griffin magnetic shim, and it kind of holds it, tacks it down, the magnet does. But for those of you who use a regular Big Shot, and I love the Big Shots, I have one right next to me that I use all the time as well. So I'm going to add a piece of tape in either corner of just capturing the edge of that die. Not on the inside of the paper, just on the die and the corners that I'm going to trim off. So let me share with you what that looks like. That's what this looks like. And I'm going to run it through my machine. That's probably the only die cut I'm going to do, maybe one more on camera, because I'm just showing you how to make the base. So let me go ahead and run this. And when I run this through my machine, here are my plates. I'm actually just going to I'm going to set it down close to the edge, and then I'm going to take my top plate, and I'm only going to go to those corners, those two corners right there, those little peaks right there, and that's as far as I want to cut. And so I'm going to trap my paper in there, and I'm going to run it through my machine. But because my plate stops there, even though the bottom plate extends more, because the second one stops there, it's only going to cut there. It's not going to cut anything else. So let me go ahead and run that through my machine without shifting anything. And I'll show you what we end up with. Sometimes the tape will damage your paper, so it's good that we add it to this corner because it's not going to ruin. If it does ruin this corner, it doesn't matter because that's just a little piece of scrap. But if you can get a die cut out of there, like a photo corner or something, You don't want to waste your good paper. So there's that. Now, this is going to give you an indentation right here, and you're going to cut on either side just up to that tip, that point. And my scissors. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut straight across to that point. And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. It's very faint, the score mark, but it's there. And this comes off. This is my card base right here. So now what I'm going to do, because we already pre-scored it, we're just going to fold it over. And that is going to give us our card base. For the inside of the card, I did cut a piece of paper because I know that this section right here is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I took off 1/4 of an inch from the length and from the width. So this piece of paper measures 4 inches across and 5 1/4 the long way, or going up the height. And we're just going to glue that down right there. And I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And what this does, it brings out the color in your paper, especially when you're using very muted colors and you want to bring in a color. And because the corners are going to peek out, and I did emboss this already, you guys, it's going to be very, very pretty with that pop of color there. So all I'm going to do is to center it as best as I can, because I'm not the best at this, at getting right in the center, but I'm going to try. So there it is. And all I did was emboss it. You can see the detail, I think. It is embossed. So when you close it, you see the bright red at the corners, and that makes for a very, very pretty card. Now, for the top of the card, we are going to do one more cut. And that cut is going to be again with the same die that we cut the card shape. And that's for the designer paper. And I'm going to use a couple of scraps because all I have is bits and pieces. I thought I had pulled them out. I was sure I had pulled out some scraps that I was going to use. Now, what did I do with them? That's the question. That's the $1,000,000 question. I always do that, you guys. I misplace everything. This is the one I had started to make, and I ended up messing up and wasn't able to complete it because the video cut off. Okay, so I'm just going to look for 2 more pieces of paper. I really wanted to use those because I really like them, but I don't know what I did with them, so let's choose something else. So with this one, we're going to do this green one for the whole thing. So you're going to measure. I wish I could find that paper. You're going to measure your card from side to side. You know it measures 4 1/4. So you want a piece of paper that measures 4 inches across, because you want a little bit of a border, by, this one says 3 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and do 3. So it's going to be a piece of paper that is a 4 by 3. Gosh, I really wish I could find those pieces of paper that I took out, because I really wanted to create one with that, but I can't. So I'm going to cut up a piece of paper that measures 4 by 3. There's the 3 and 4. So it's a 4 by 3 piece of paper for that rectangle section that is going to be on top of our card, which this is going to go right there. So we're going to take a scrap of paper, and we're going to, all we need is a little scrap, you guys. We're going to make sure that this die, I'm going to cut it from here, that we cut a big enough piece to go past those 2 points, because we're going to sandwich it in between the bottom, and you won't be able to tell that it's 2 pieces of paper. I'm so bummed that I don't know what I did with that other piece of paper that I picked out. So I'm going to run this really quick. and I'll show you what I end up with. I'm sorry if I'm moving you, but my machine is on the same countertop as where my phone is mounted, and it tends to shake the camera. So this is what you end up with. And this piece, we're going to go ahead and glue it. I'm going to go ahead and glue it. It doesn't even matter if it's not straight at the edge, guys, because we're going to cover it up with the one that does have a straight edge. So all I'm going to do is add glue here. And I am going to leave myself a little bit of a border on the tip of this card. So in a sense, I'm using the tags upside down. So I'm going to glue this in place, but I'm not going to glue it all the way down because I want you to be able to see a little bit of that ivory border. That looks pretty good. Now, before I add this here, I actually want to make this card into a card that can be mounted, that can be hung on a tree. So for that, I'm using my tab die, which is this one. You get different, I explained in the other video that you get all different sizes. So this is the die that I'm using, and I'm going to find the center of my piece of paper, and that's where I'm going to mount the tab. I'm going to use my Tim Holtz ruler because it has the center point, so I can find the center of this. It's about right there. So at the center point, because it's 4 inches, it's going to be 2 inches, but I'm really bad at finding the center. So for me, this really helps. So I'm just going to add glue there, and that way I'll know where my tab goes. And I'm going to glue my tab down right there. Because we're making this one into a hanging card, because a lot of people put their cards on their tree, and this way they will already have a loop to hang it. So there's that. Now we're going to take this and we're going to glue it on top of this previous one, because even though my line is not straight, when I add this one has a straight edge, so it's going to be straight, and you really can't tell that it's two pieces of paper pieced together. I'm hoping we can get this done in one video, you guys, because my phone stops, and I know I've said it before, but for those of you who are just now tuning into this video, that is why I do it, because I don't edit anything. I don't spend my hours editing. I'd rather be crafting. So I'm going to give myself a little border all the way around, as even as possible. Here it is. We have a card right here that when the recipient gets it, they can hang it on their tree. And it's not going to interfere with the card opening. See, it goes flat. So that's what we're going to do there. Now we're going to add this piece, and this piece is, we can move it all the way up. I think I'm going to trim it off a little bit more, you guys, because I want there to be, well, maybe not, because if I trim it off, you'll be able to see that portion, and I don't want you to see that. So I'm going to move it all the way up where I can only see the designer paper on either side, and I'm going to center it, but I'm going to put this on dimensional tape, or on foam tape. I use the Dollar Tree foam tape whenever I can because it's very economical, and I usually do like one in the center and one in each corner. That way nothing sinks in. And I also add glue to the foam tape. So before we move on to the next step, we're going to go ahead and cut the hole in the card if you're going to add a tassel. I'm going to add a tassel to these. So I'm going to get just a hole punch that I have that does smaller holes, and I'm going to add a hole right there in the center before I add anything to it that will interfere. And that's all I'm doing there. So I just added a hole there, and it's real small. And it's not even quite in the center, but you won't be able to tell. Let me see if I can move it over some. It's not a biggie though. I always tell y'all I'm the worst at centering stuff. There. So that's all I did there. For this piece that's going to go on top, this piece I cut it with the intricate die, the one that has all the, where is it? I'm going to use the die that has the open work. I'm not even sure what I did with it, but I'm going to share another one with you. That way you know which one I'm talking. Oh, here it is. I see it. Guess what I found, you guys? This is the paper I was going to use. I'm going to use this one that has the open work. And all I did was measure from top to bottom how long a paper I needed. In this case, for this particular card, if you're doing the same thing I'm doing, you're going to need a piece of paper that measures 5 1/4 inch tall, and it has to be at least wider than the tag on either side. So that's what I did, and I lined it up. Let me grab this. Let's say this is the piece of paper that I chose, and let's say this is 5 1/4 inches tall. I just took the paper and lined it up at the bottom, and I ran it through my machine, making sure it was as straight as possible. Ran it through my machine, so that means there's not going to be any paper up here. It's going to cut me a shorter piece, which is what this is. And let me put it back in here so you can see. So when I cut this piece, it was 5 1/4 inches tall, or actually 5. You can do it 5 because you want to have a little bit of a border. So do it 5 inches tall and wider than your tag. That way it cuts a nice clean edge all the way around. And see how there's an open spot there? There's no paper there. I didn't need it. I would be wasting paper. And then I just took my corner rounder, the 1/4 inch side. There's a 1/2 1/4 inch, and I rounded the corners. Any will do it as long as it's a 1/4 inch. A 1/2 inch I think is too much. So now we're going to add this here. We're going to add it there. Look how gorgeous that looks. I mean, this is most of our card already put together. You can go in and put little you can go in and put in foam dots there if you want. I'm going to use some gel. I actually own the pin flare, and that is from Carnation Crafts. I will link it in the description box below. They are from the UK, but they do ship to the US, and I don't think the shipping is really bad. But since you're there, I would recommend that you pick up something else. Their perfect papers are really nice. Very nice heavyweight paper. And of course their dies. You know, I have tons of their dies that I have purchased. They had picked up a US design team, and I was part of it, but they didn't do anything with it. But I still love Carnation Crafts. So I'm going to take the pin flare. You actually put it in a syringe, and I'm going to add a little bit of pin flare to those areas where it's big enough that I can add and not use a foam dot, because foam dots are too tedious. And that's all I'm going to do here, and one right there. There's all the little dots. And I'm going to close this up because this does ooze out sometimes. So you want to cap it with something. Even if you lose your cap, find another cap that fits and cap it. So we're going to line this up all the way to the edge right here. And we're going to center it. I think I need to move over some. That looks pretty good right there, I think. Yeah. So that is where our piece is going to go. And I'm just going to press this down just a little bit. I'm not smashing it down. I just want the gel to make contact. with the paper underneath. So this is where we're going to do this. Now, for the sentiment, the story of my life, here it is. Here is the sentiment I'm using, and I'm also, this is a die from Carnation Craft as well. This might be one you want to pick up with the pin flare. This is, the die is called Scrapping Pages, and it does come with the artwork. Let me show you what the artwork looks like. I did print them all out so you could see, but see, you get the scrolls, and you get them in 2 sizes. I didn't print out the other one because I already had some. And you get this like collage, letter collage with the seals, and then you get these vintage tags, and you have an option to print them double-sided or single-sided. I did single-sided, and this is what's going to go here, but I'm going to mist the back, and I'm going to roll the front. So I'm just taking regular water, giving it a light mist, and I'm going to grab a pen. I thought I had a pen up here, yeah. So I'm just going to take a pen or a skinny dowel rod, and I'm just going to give it some movement by just rolling it on there. And I actually would like something even thinner, but just giving it that look, that rolled edge that a scroll has. And you can also do that on the bottom if you want. If you're going to curl to the top, then I recommend you print double-sided. If you're going to curl to the bottom, single-sided is fine. So I'm going to actually tighten this up a little bit. I want it to be a little bit more tight, skinnier, for lack of a better word. And that's going to be my scroll that I'm going to put here. And I'm not going to curl the bottom. At this point, I could probably trim it off and it would be okay. But I'm not going to curl the bottom because when you go to add, here's a good example. When you go to add your characters on there, there's going to be a dip and you won't really be able to work. So, because I do want to give it a slight dip. Nothing crazy, just a little bit. And then I'm going to mount this here. I think I am going to trim it down though, guys, because I don't want it to cover up this edge right here at the bottom. So I'm going to take my scissors, just my scissors, and I'm going to trim it, and then I'm going to round the corners. And I'm just going to cut directly across. And I'm going to take my corner rounder, and I'm going to round the corners. Let's see if that's pretty good. It's actually very, very crooked. So let me straighten it up some. This side is. So if you want to use your paper trimmer, yeah, that might be the way to go. I already told y'all that I'm the worst at fussy cutting and all of that. So here is the scroll that I'm going to use, and I'm going to leave it flat in the bottom because I'm going to add my nativity, Joseph and Mary there, and I'm going to add some pin flare to the back because I do want it to have a little lift. So this glue, when it dries, it's like a silicone, and it's not going to smash down. Let me add some down here because I want it to have try taking the cap off, Ida. So I'm just going to add a dab there. Can't put the cap back on, so it'll stay up. And I'm going to center it. Let me clean this out before I start having issues with it. Once this dries, you can actually just pull it out because it becomes like hard silicone. And once it's like a little plug. That's what it becomes. And you can pull it out. It's not a biggie. So there is my scroll. Now I'm going to add, I love the hanging element on top. Now I'm going to add my, I'm the worst, you guys. There's this, and I'm missing one. And I was missing this one also in the last video. Oh, there it is. So here is Joseph, Mary, and baby Jesus. And let me see. So I'm going to put them here. I'm going to put him here in this corner. And then I'm going to add her probably just a little bit lower. No, maybe I'll move him up some. I'm going to move him up a little bit. Yeah. So I'm just going to add glue. I'm not going to add no dimension anything because it really doesn't need it. So I'm going to add glue, and I did offset them with black. That way it makes them stand out. If there's a silhouette, it makes them stand out better. Come on. And I'm going to add glue. And she's going to be right on top of the bottom of his gown. And actually, you know what? I'm going to add pin flare here because I need a little lift. But I don't want it to be really obvious. So I'm just going to add a little bit right there. And set her down right there. And then we're going to add the little baby right here. And we're not going to add any gel or anything to him. We're just going to add glue. Because the card has, because of the way we did the scroll, it does have height to it. And I'm going to put the cradle right there. Right there at the bottom. How gorgeous is that, you guys? It's already, oops. It's already looking really, really, really pretty. Now right here is where you can straighten up your scroll if you need to, because we added the gel. You still have time to move it around. So there's that. I think I need more glue on him. I'm going to go ahead and use the gel. That way I can get it to have more grip. And I'm going to put him back down here where I had him. And I'm going to straighten her up. There it is. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Now, I did cut the star that comes in the Nativity Anna Griffin set. And because their shadow is in the back, so obviously my light source would be coming from the opposite direction. So this is where I'm going to add my light source. But I'm going to, I've split it in half because I use half of it on another card. And I'm going to actually kind of hide most of it because I don't want it to stick so far out that my card doesn't fit in the envelope. And I'm just going to use regular glue. So when your light source is coming from this way, the shadow would be in the back. If the light source were coming from this side, then your light source would be in the opposite end. That is my understanding, but I don't know it all, you guys. Oh, not there. I'm going to put this here. So it doesn't stick out too much. So I just wanted to have like the little rays of the star, the shining part of the star just sticking out. So there is that. Now, I do have a piece of a sticker somewhere here. But y'all know me. Everything gets lost in my desk. So I'm going to look for another one. And we're just going to add a sticker at the bottom. But we're going to cut it. Here's a piece. We're actually going to cut it so we don't have to cut this one because this is a little one. If it were bigger, I tend to just split them in half, give it a straight edge, and tuck them underneath something. In this case, we don't need to because of it being a real small one. So I'm just going to lift this up a little bit. I'm going to give myself some room to slide this underneath that. I want the berries to stick out. There we go. See how it still moves because I use gel, but once the gel sets, oh no. Once the gel sets, I got gel on my hand. So be careful with that. I kind of smashed down this corner over here and got gel on me. Pick that up. If you're using gel, just be careful because it will ooze out if it's not dry. But once it's dry, you don't have to worry about it. So there is my card already completed, Layla. I hope that this helps you and that this inspires you or gives you ideas because, I mean, my dad used to say everyone's head is a different world because we all have different ideas. So, I mean, just run with it. Maybe I should have curled this corner going in. I mean, you could do a lot of things. You could add another sticker right here to the top. Let me grab one really quick. If I wanted to add another one, if it was something like this, I would just split it straight across and I would tuck it in the top and that would look pretty too. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Everything will be listed in the description box below and I hope that this explained better for you, Layla. Bye.